Hello, everybody. I'm Katrina. This is Sow and Tare live chat. We do this every Monday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, except for the first Monday of the month will be on Thursday. So next week we will be meeting on Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Welcome, welcome. Hopefully everybody's doing good. And let's see who's here. I see PJ's here. Welcome, PJ. Got here nice and early. Hello, hello. Staying up late tonight, making soft. You're gonna have to tell me how to say that. Chevere cheese in my cheese maker. Okay, number one, describe what CHEVRE is as a cheese. And what do you mean cheese maker? I thought cheese was made like on the stovetop. There's a thing that you put things in and it becomes cheese. I need this. PJ has goats, so I'm guessing she's making goat cheese. Is that a goat cheese thing? Chevre. Chevre? Chevre. Awesome. Awesome. Good job. Um yeah, interesting. Fromigo cheesemaker. I'm going to look that one up. From AGGIO. There we go. Comes right up. Interesting. Italian cheese made at home. Okay. It looks like a crock pot on a blender stand. That's what it looks like. Oh my goodness. Awesome. Well, that is awesome. And I'm glad that you're able to do that. And I did not know there was a machine. So thank you for letting us know. Serena's here. Hi, cousins. Hi, Serena. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, today we got a little bit rain. Well, we got some rain over the weekend, not nearly what they said that was going to happen. But got some rain. It was a little bit misty this morning, and then it's been sunny most of the day. So that's how the weather is here. Okay. PJ made 2 batches of fresh cheese curd on Saturday. Awesome. Steve's here. Steve is S.O. Swanson Blue Little Wrench, and he is a moderator. Thank you for moderating. And Steve says, hey, I'd have been here sooner, but I didn't want to get here before Katrina. I was here. I was actually here a lot before I just started. Oh, good question. Is Verna moving today? She might be. I don't know the date. She didn't tell me specifically, but she might be. If she's not on here, we might assume that that's happening. Yeah. So Verna's moving to a place. Oh, she doesn't have the keys yet. Anyway, I don't know when that's happening, but yeah, we're happy for her. We're happy for her. Absolutely. Serena is asking, have you ever had tomatoes growing on the very bottom of the main stem? And if so, do you mulch under them or harvest them, even if they are not ripe yet? On the very bottom of the main stem. Are you just saying tomatoes close to the ground? That's fine. That's fine. Tomatoes, can grow wildly, and even in like big ag, they don't trellis tomatoes in big ag. They don't go out there with a bunch of little tomato stands, which I don't do that. I use a cattle panel. They actually let them grow on the ground, sprawling on the ground, commercially. So yeah, you can, that's fine. Serena, where are you? Are you in a humid area or a non-humid area? I have not grown, well, that's not true. I've not recently grown tomatoes in a humid area, but there is a higher chance of disease in humid areas, and that's why people thin their tomato plants and they prune their tomato plants and all that. And I had never heard of that until, I was going to say recently, but it's not been recent, but I had never heard of that for a long time. Because I grew up in the high desert, and then I was still in the dry area in California, and here it's wetter than where I was, but it's still not humid like the Midwest, or Oklahoma also has the humidity. So I would ask someone who uh, who grows in humidity, but I would let them. I mean, if there's tomatoes forming, it's food. It's fine. Let it ripen. If you have concerns about it, pick it green and let it ripen and then eat it. Or you can eat them green too. Yeah. Oh, PJ says my son never got to the property to look at it yet. I'll be going down Thursday for the weekend to see. Hopefully, put a bid on it. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Because that it would be perfect. Oklahoma ranges from 48 to 62%. Steve says. Okay. Serena says we were 95 Fahrenheit today at 4 p.m. with HI. I don't know what HI is. Of 101. HI? Humidity index? Is that what that was? Of 101? Yeah. Let's see what the humidity is here right now. Let's see. 69 degrees outside and 49% humidity. And it's not humid here. Like it's not a humid day. Steve says, I hope your bids get snatched up quickly and the property is worth it. Absolutely. I agree, PJ. I hope it is the exact thing that you are looking for. Yeah. Those that don't know, PJ's looking for places in, I always mess up which Carolina it is. One of the Carolinas. 13.5 acres. Nice. Nice. That is enough to do a lot on. Mm-hmm. That is enough to do a lot on. PJ, what are you on right now? South Carolina. I never remember which one it is. Serena says, I had no idea that my nicotina, which I planted on top of my garden tower 2, I don't know what garden tower 2 means, would try to take over all the pockets. It has new plants as far as 3 pockets below the top of where you transplanted it. I don't know what a nicotina is. Is that nicotine? Is that like tobacco? Plant. Oh, a tobacco plant? They are, I will tell you, they are invasive in nature and they're invasive species. So that's something to consider. Yeah. Okay, so PJ, you're currently on 3.74, and you're doing a lot on what you have. So 13 be really good. Okay, Steve is that the location. You think Charleston or Myrtle Beach? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what you're gonna do with that, Serena. I know that the tobacco plant is an invasive species where it exists, and I don't have use for it. So, yeah. Okay, PJ says not the beach, about an hour inland near Florence. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's what you remember from South Carolina? I've never been there. I've never been there. I saw that. PJ says I sold the cows last weekend, took them to CT. Is that Connecticut? Yeah, your little mini herd. No, that's good. You'll start with what you can and all that once you're down there. And you said it's not fenced, right? So you'd have to do fencing first? Yeah. Serena says, at least I don't have any nightshade plants in the same tower. Well, I think you now have a nightshade tower. I think that's what you have. Yeah. In fact, wild tobacco, was one of the things that studied in the video. I've referenced this video so many times on this channel. You can look it up on YouTube, and it's called "What Plants Talk About," and I love it. It's a I think it's Nature that put it out originally, and now it's on YouTube. It's like 45 minutes, something like that, and they talk about the tobacco plant changing pollinators when it gets too much of a predation on it, which is pretty cool. They totally change when the flower is flowering, what the flower looks like, and also the nectar of the flower. So like everything changes. So that's the amazing thing that I know. Serena says, which vegetable is a symbol of freedom for the United Fruit and Vegetable Nation? Cracked Liberty Bell pepper? That's a reach. That one's a reach, Serena. PJ says, not fenced, but has septic. That's important. Water and electricity already. Yep. Plan is to take my camper down, live in it until 2 tiny houses get set up. That sounds perfect. And thank you. It was PBS? Thank you, Steve, for the link. Yeah, PJ, that sounds perfect because you can get that going really quick. As long as they allow tiny houses on it, then that's fine. Some of the properties, so when I was looking for a place, I looked at a property a couple counties north of here, and they're a little more strict up there. And there was already a tiny home on it in addition to the normal home. And that apparently was there illegally. And if I was to buy the property, I found out just because for my job, I have to look up ordinances. And so I was looking up ordinances of where I was going to potentially be in. And like, called them and said, hey, so what's this? Like, what's allowed here? What's not allowed here? Blah, blah. And I told him what was on the property. He goes, oh, well, you'd have to remove that tiny house. Those aren't allowed here. What? So sorry to whoever bought that house. They probably made you remove it. Serena says Route 66 turned 100 this month. There we go. Yes, the Declaration of Independence was signed at the bottom of the document. Yep. VJ says, I have 3 rolls of fence and T-posts loaded in the trailer ready to go to the storage unit. Awesome. Serena says, 250th 4th of July. Anyone doing anything special to celebrate? I'm just watching the celebration on TV or YouTube. Yeah, 4th of July is my mom's birthday, so we're celebrating. I'm involved in the local group that puts together events and all that, and so we actually have a 3-day event in town. We have Thursday is going to be a lot of games for the kids. We have vendors and games for kids. Friday, vendors and games for kids, and there's a cakewalk. I think it's on Thursday or Friday. And then Saturday, which is the 4th, we had the parade. So if you guys are in the area and you want to be in the parade, we have parade permits, and they're free, and you can be in a parade. And so we have the parade that we have a breakfast thing, and then we have parade, and then we do the fireworks. So we'll be collecting donations for parking or at the parking for the fireworks. Our local fire department is involved in the fireworks, and so they're already there. So yeah, it'll be good. My mom's coming. She wants to help out, and I'm like, we'll take the extra hands and we'll celebrate. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. Yep. All right. Okay. And PJ says anything goes there. Already has RV hookup too. Good. Happy birthday to my mom. Well, happy birthday, mom, is what PJ says. Maybe she's listening. What? No, Steve, have you not heard of a cakewalk? Okay. Are they steel cakes? They'd have to be to walk on them. No. I don't understand how it works because I've never been involved in it, but there are cakes and pies and stuff that people, I guess, donate. And then it's kind of like a musical chairs thing, and if you land on a number, then when the music stops, if you land on that number, then you get that cake. I think that's how it works, and if somebody knows better, please let us know because I don't know. PJ's laughing. That's good. Serena says, knock knock, who's there? Irish? Irish, you a happy birthday. Katrina, tell your mom that. Okay, I will tell her. Yeah, so Steve says we build houses around tiny trailers and RVs here. Yeah, they do that here too in some places. But yeah, I just want people to be forewarned because there are so many people that buy property and go, I can do anything I want here. And then they find out that there's like rules against it. And so I want to make sure that people I'm involved with and I support, that doesn't happen to you. So, yeah. Yours was built on a trolley car, around a trolley car. That's cool. That's cool. Are the tracks still there, or did they put the trolley car somewhere else? Wait, trolley car is the electric one, right? Cool. Yeah, they don't have chairs in this one. I know that because we have a lot of people. Serena says you have chairs in a circle and you walk around to some music, and then when it stops, whatever chair you stop at, number is the cake you get. I think they have like round things on the floor that you stand on. I think that's what it is in ours. I've not been involved in that. Last year was my first year being involved in that, and I helped out with the kids games, which can be pretty hectic. We were going to have a dunk tank, kids games, dunk tank, food booth, vendors, street music, like street fair, like dance party thing. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, it's going to be a good 3-day event. I work partway through Thursday, but yeah. Anybody else doing anything fun? Doing good? Oh, so Steve has a different one. Says a number is drawn, and the person standing on that matching square wins a cake or baked good. I think they actually do it when the music stops because people move. I've seen it from afar, so I think people move. I think it's kind of like musical chairs, but then instead of chairs, it's the number that you land on. Um. Anyway, I don't know. I have not been involved in that. Um. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't know about that part, but there's our community is pretty small, and this brings in a lot of people actually. Um, it's really kind of fun because they call it the Silver Scramble. So that first day it'll be Thursday. Um, when before the kids games start, we get a bunch of, I don't know if it's quarters or what, but a bunch of coins. I think it's usually quarters, and scatter them for each age group. Scatter them in this section of the park, and that section of the park, and that section of the park, and the kids basically do like an Easter egg hunt for money. And then I need to plug in my computer. Hang on. And then they even if they can't afford the games, they'll be able to afford the games to pay for them. Um, with the money that they find. So it's a way to kind of get them to do that, and then they just get back. It's just a way to make sure all the kids can be involved. So yeah. Steve says the musical chair part was just above what you read. Okay, yeah. Yep. What do you call twitching cow? Beef jerky? Serena, you're on it. PJ says my garden isn't doing so well, at least for me. Bugs seem to be eating my plants, but some are still growing. Nasturtiums and sunflowers are up. Pumpkins are doing well. A few pea plants. PJ, I don't know if you saw my weekend review video yet. So I planted a bunch of peas. I think it was the spotted towhees that dug them back up because I saw them in the garden after I planted. I actually planted in my summer garden this weekend, and I saw them. They're like, "Ooh, what'd you get for me?" So 2 pea plants end up coming up. And I've been ignoring it because it's just like it's not doing anything, whatever. And so I was weeding out things, and I came upon one pea plant with one pea pod. And of course, it was past the edible stage. Yeah, I can, after it dries, I could store it then. But I'm like, I'm just going to let you seed, and maybe we'll have volunteers next year. Yeah. Yep. And then the other part of that with bugs, didn't really have a bug issue, but banana slug had babies, and 3 of them at least. Well, I did away with 3 of them that were that big, little babies. If they were not eating my jalapeno plants, I would call them cute. But I they're not cute when they're in the garden. Yeah. Oh, there will be no lost quarters, Steve. Those kids are thorough. Those kids are thorough, and they're going to be there for 3 days. Yeah, this is the opposite. In for Easter, the city doesn't mow the lawn, so we can hide the Easter eggs in the lawn. For this, they mow it pretty short. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Oh, you said the pumpkins are doing well. I think I missed saying that. So PJ says, thinking they will get decimated this week in the heat. How hot are you getting? Hopefully not. We've had a nice cool break. So I planted most of the garden. I do need to get the sweet potato slips in, and I might do that after this. It's supposed to be fairly cool through the rest of the week, and then in the 80s on Saturday, I think. But the sweet potato slips, I think I have more slips than I have spaces for. And I was going to go outside of the bounds of the garden and try and do like a makeshift fence, but I really think I need to just fit them in because there's 2 boys that like to come and eat like right outside the garden in the evenings, and I'm sure if I put out sweet potatoes, they would be nibbled off overnight. So if I put them in the garden, I think it'll be good. But yeah, and green beans, I also need to plant those. But for that, I need to actually have a screen over it so that the birds don't take it again. Yeah. PJ has a few tomatoes. That's good. That's good. So the videos for this week, tomorrow you'll see how and why I weeded the garden the way I did. And then on Thursday, I did not plant with you guys. I just needed to get it done, frankly. But it's kind of a first little garden tour, looky loo of what got planted. So this week it's all about garden. Next week it's probably gonna all be about animals. But yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Serena says I have 5 zucchini squash growing on my bush zucchini plant. It's the only squash plants producing so far. Good, good, good. Keep an eye on them. They get big fast. PJ says everything started from seed. I don't see any corn up, so no corn this year. If I'm even there to harvest anything, I get it. I get it. I planted out my whole garden before I moved, and it was in full production when I moved. It was very sad. But I also moved into a place that she did put in a garden. So there you go. I did the degrees on Saturday. My goodness, Serena. Low hundreds at PJ's, and then thunderstorms over the weekend. Oh my gosh. Did I see the milk joke? I don't think so. Oh, I did. I missed it. What is the fastest moving liquid? Milk. Before you know it, it's pasteurized. Oh my goodness. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. So yeah, I planted the garden. That went well, except for the slugs. But I got the 3 slugs are no longer in a live form. And then kitties are out and about, so that's good. There'll be a video. I think it's going to be next week about that. If something else happens, I'll push it back. But yeah, I think so. The catalpa tree is in full flower. I still don't have a great use for that tree. I know Tommy on here said that it can be used for aquarium pH adjustments when it's dried, like after it dries and falls off the plant. But I have so far not had interest in picking up the dried leaves and trying to sell them. So if anybody knows of a use for catalpa, I would welcome that. Yeah. Serena says, what do you call a cow that has just had a baby? Decaffeinated. I have heard that one. Yep, decaffeinated. Yeah, Ravioli's babies are going to go out they were going to go out this weekend, and then I got busy. So they are going to go out this week. Tommy, I say your name and you pop up. You haven't been here for a long time. My goodness. I just have to say people's name and they come up. So Aquatic News Network is Tommy. Hi, welcome. Oh, he says, LOL, I guess my ears were burning. Absolutely. Indeed. They buffered down the pH. The tannins are acidic, so it lowers the pH a little. My goodness, Tommy, you're funny. That is very ironic, I think, and great timing. And if you were stalking and being in the background, good timing on speaking up. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, I am looking for recommendations on unique, that's a key word, things that I can grow in my food forest, planting zone 9B, not 9B, 8B. Planting zone 8B. So we get snow, we get freezing. And you just came in 2 minutes ago? Yeah. So I'm looking for recommendations for interesting, unique things to plant into my food forest. And I will be compiling a list and getting things. The tree person has to come back and finish up. He didn't finish. And then there's some trees along the power line, which are going to be either extra cost to cut down because they're danger trees and he has to climb, or I have to think about if it matters that much. It could shade, and you have to think like 30 years out, right? And I'm kind of thinking about seeing how it goes through fall and not doing that fence line over there and seeing where the sun goes, seeing how the sun falls. So that is something I'm struggling with because I thought that they were going to be able to get to stuff along there, but yeah, I've already spent a lot on taking trees down. But he was able to chip. Most of what came out of there has been chipped, and so there's a lot of soil building stuff there. And if you guys want to talk about that, we can talk about that. Let me know. I know I've talked about it before, but we talk about a lot of things on here. All right, let's zoom up here, see what people say. PJ said I had very few lilacs flower this year. Goats ate the outer branches, so only inner tall branches flowered. Peonies are in bloom now, though. Do you still have jelly? I know you made lilac jelly last year. Do you still have some of that, or was it just a little bit? Or last year or year before? Was it year before? Serena says I pruned my tomato plants last night after 10:30 while watering the beds at the same time, moving the hose as I moved. That sounds good. I've never pruned tomatoes, and I don't feel a need for that. The only need for that, I believe, and somebody can tell me different, I believe the only need for pruning tomatoes is if you live in an area that's humid. That's the only reason I can think. Yeah. Serena says, I found out I have at least 8 to 10 tomatoes actually growing, even though I have a lot of blooms and buds. Yep. Yep. Figs are definitely on the list, guys. Yep. Yep. Oh, you still have lilac jelly in the freezer. Good. Yeah, figs are definitely on the list. There's some different varieties I want to do. There's a lot of fun varieties. I want to do stuff that is like other people don't have, right? And one of the things I want to do, so I want to do a lot of herbs as well. So this is a food forest. It's not just trees. It's going to be the whole everything. And there's a lot of herbs that I can do. I want to do herb bases. That's what I'd like to sell is herb bases and do like a subscription where if you return the vase, you get a vase, and just set up something that's kind of a fast, yep, here you go. Here's your herbs for the week. Because I know I had that when I was in California, I would use them a lot more than going, oh yeah, I would need to go out and get this. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, Yeah. Tommy says they get leggy and produce much smaller here in Texas if I don't hard prune, then prune routinely. Even for so we're talking tomatoes. Even for the indeterminate. There's two types of tomatoes. There's indeterminate and determinate. Indeterminate means that it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. Determinate means it's only going to grow so big. So determinate plants you don't really want to prune, is my understanding. I mean, you might prune to thin, but it's only going to grow so much, whereas indeterminate will grow basically forever, right? As long as there's no frost. Okay, let's see. Oh, Steve was saying exactly that. Maybe I should just read it. Pruning is for airflow, more growth, the main step. And keep the lower branches off the ground, but it matters if it is determinate or indeterminate before you prune. Okay, yep, that's what I was saying. Yep. Yep, PJ says I'll be able to check my plants in South Carolina when I get there. Yep. Serena has a question. Which fruit is always paying attention to how it looks? Fig. It watches its figure. Okay, so Tommy only prunes indeterminates. I try to only grow indeterminates, although it doesn't always happen. But yeah. PJ says prune figs, though. I've seen old orchards of figs that are about this tall. Like, not on me, on the floor. Like 4 feet, maybe 5 feet up. And then they bush out. I've seen them do that with that. I've seen them do that with mulberries. And it actually looks like a pretty successful, like, reachable crop, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Tommy says, determinants I usually leave alone, but try to keep up best as possible. Oh, growth of main stem. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's the other thing that's happening here is that I am growing my soil right now. So a good soil bed takes about between 3 and 5 years. A soil bed will come into its own. It will become the most successful between 3 and 5 years. And I would consider this year one, really, even though I did like add stuff before. I would consider this year one. And when I reconfigure the garden, things will get messed up again. So it's okay. But I think things should grow well there. Yep. Yeah, birds. So some of the things I'm thinking about that's not as common for the food forest is soap nut, which is used for soap. The husk of the nut is, and then things like sea berry, which is a high vitamin C, and it's also used for oil. Um, those are just kind of the interesting ones. And there is a thornless, not thorn free, but thornless variety of sea berry that I just learned about a few months ago. Stefan up at what is his place called? He's in Canada. Permaculture Orchard. Um, it, he when his videos come out, he's live on there and he answers questions, and that's something I asked, like, so is that a variety or is that like something else? And they've turned to using that and another thing. And that's also, I believe, a nitrogen fixer, I believe, which is pretty cool. I'm also looking for potential things that flower in my area in October, because that is botanically the lowest flowering of the year. And so, I have my bees. I'm going to have more, and they require certain amounts of food. And October is our pretty much our low year when they're still out and about. Yeah. Uh, Serena says, I try to keep at least 6 inches of space between the soil and the lowest branch of the tomato plant. That makes sense. Better airflow to minimize the chance of disease. I I weave them into cattle panels. That's what I do. My rows are a little close this year, so it will probably turn into a jungle, and that is okay. I accept that this is going to happen. Yeah. Um, Tommy says it's crazy to think it's crazy if you think of the development of the tomato plant, how we've taken a plant that predominantly wants to survive by growing across the ground with all of its feely rhizomes it has, yet we find better ways for production is by stringing it up with airflow rather than it crawling across the ground. Well, because we're taking it out of, so I believe tomatoes are more of a dry land plant. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. It's from the Americas that it originated here. Um, but it is, I believe it's a drier climate plant. And so when you have a drier climate plant, things can sprawl on the ground because it doesn't get wet and have disease. So I think the better feat is that we've taken a plant and spread it across the world, especially one that the first Europeans that came here thought it was toxic because it was red. Um, they missed out on a lot of things, didn't they? Yeah. Yeah, so all the tomato dishes over like in Italy and stuff, it originated here. It was brought over there. They were like, "Oh, we can cook this." And then it came like then people came back here like, "Oh, this is edible." Pretty interesting history. But yeah, Tommy, they still do that for production for in ag. They still have them growing across the ground. Yeah. Serena says mums are a fall flower. Do they have pollen? And like, do they have a lot of pollen and a lot of nectar? Um, and do they grow in colder climates? I think of them as like the thing that comes out in the fall flower, and you have displays with hay bale and all that. But I'll have to look into that. Steve says it's hard to think unique. Gumi is a nitrogen fixer, and the berries are edible. Yeah, so those are the two that Stefan uses. Is sea berry, thornless seaberry and goomyberry. Those are the two they're using now for nitrogen fixing. So I think those are both good options. And then I would also like to do there's a ceanothus that is very short. It's almost ground cover, and that has really, really pretty flowers. And anytime you can bring flowers into the garden, that's a good thing. I don't know if it has medicinal use or not. It probably does. Probably. Ceanothus, I don't know what the common name is. I think it's just ceanothus. Common name for ceanothus. It's a wild California lilac or wild lilac. Buckbrush. Mountain lilac. I don't remember lilac as being in the name. Buckbrush, maybe. Soapbrush. That's interesting. Anyway, there you go. Aquatic News Network. Yes, more Central Americas. So every time you eat the Italian pasta, think Mexico. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And corn, that's definitely a Mexican origin. And every village had their different varieties. Every family had their different varieties. It's amazing. There's a I don't remember the guy's name or his organization name. Tortilla is in the name. But they are trying to preserve as much as they can the individual like family level or town level types of corn. And there's some that are popcorn, there's some that are dent corn. It's mostly popcorn or dent corn in Mexico, and he's Mexican. And what is the name of it? It's tortilla something. Tortilla something. But they're doing a lot of seed saving and a lot of seed sharing for that. Let's see. Tortilla Organization Mexico. Save the corn. How about, let's see what happens when I come up with that. It actually came up. It actually came up. That's hilarious. This is what I typed in. Tortilla Organization Mexico save. Well, I meant to say save, but it says safe the corn. Yeah, Mexico put a ban on tortillas made with GMO corn, which is interesting. So let me put this in here, and I will give you guys a link if it actually is it. Site can't be reached. Yeah, we're blocking things here. Well, anyway, he's a good guy. Is this it? Like, I want to see the picture of the guy. Yep, that's him. Okay. I'm going to share this with you guys, and I will share my screen as well. But, Tortilla, I'm just going to say Tortilla Foundation. If you guys are interested at all in seed saving and helping a worthwhile group, I met this guy at the Heirloom Expo. Share screen years ago, and I had enough Spanish to understand what he was saying, and he had enough English that to almost understand what I was saying. So we were making our conversation work. But this is the website. I'm sure you can do Google Translate and it'll be fine. But look at all these different types of corn, and there's tons of different types of corn there. And they have a real effort. This one, can we zoom in? We probably can't. Anyway, that one has a really interesting looking kernel. I've seen it in person. But Yeah, he's a kind of a powerhouse. He goes all over um and gets funding for things and spreads seeds everywhere, and they're trying to get the more native ones back into Mexico. And I think he was involved in um he was involved in I think he was involved in the non-GMO bill down there. So what was happening is um they have a lot of they were having a lot of corn coming from the United States, and corn coming from the United States means GMO, frankly. And it means that it was basically depleting everything. And if they were getting corn seeds from the United States, then it was basically wiping out their um I don't know what to call them, land races maybe of corn. Um their individual varieties of corn, and there's thousands of them down there. There's thousands because this family preserves this one, and then this family grows this one over here, and it's really really interesting. And yeah, if you guys didn't know, popcorn comes from Mexico, which is funny because I don't think of popcorn as being a Mexican food, but it is. Um, I'm going off on a tangent. We'll see if you guys are interested in that. Let me read some comments. Really worthwhile organization and worthwhile person if you're interested in corn or Mexican culture, that kind of stuff. Okay. Um, Steve says tomatoes originated in the Andes mountains of Western South America. Okay. Primarily in present day Peru and Ecuador. I didn't think it was that far down. Interesting. Um, Tommy says, oh, all the way from south, then to central. There we go. PJ says, I planted all my tomatoes next to the hog panel or cattle panel fencing surrounding the garden, except for the side that has sunflowers and nasturtiums. Yep. I use cattle panels. Yep. And I actually elevate them to give extra height. I put T-posts in and then give about that much before they hit the cattle panel. And then I can start winding them. I don't tie them. There's no point in tying them. There's people spend an enormous amount of time tying up their tomatoes. If you have a cattle panel, the squares are this big. It goes through and it goes up. And then it goes through and it goes up. You don't have to tie it. It's a pointless activity in my mind to try and tie off all your tomatoes. Do something else with your life. Do something else with your garden, Do something a little more practical. All right. Steve says for mums, it depends on the flower. Most retail plants are double flower with no pollen or nectar. That's what I was thinking. With single flowers, or while single flowers are great for pollen. So again, pollen is the protein and nectar is the carbohydrate. So that's what the bees eat, and depending on what they are in, what stage of life they're in, and all that, it depends if they need pollen or nectar to get what they need. Yeah. Serena says Venezuela had twin earthquakes. Yep. First 7.2, then 45 minutes later, 7.5 magnitude. It caused several buildings to collapse, resulting in several deaths and injuries, plus many missing people. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. The whole Ring of Fire has had earthquakes. Japan had an earthquake. We had an earthquake this morning off the coast of Oregon, 100 miles out in the ocean on the Cascadia Fault, I believe. And it was a 5 point something. It didn't affect any people as far as I know, but that is a fault that talk about Cascadia, right? The people talk about the Cascadia event. The last time that we know it shifted, or that we can figure out that it shifted, I want to say it's in the 1700s. And I was looking this up the other day, and I don't know, I was going down a path. But there is a forest, and I don't know if I don't think they're fossilized. Maybe they're just super, dried out. I don't know. But in like on the latitude of Portland-ish, on the coast, there is a forest of dead trees. And I think it was 1700s when I don't think Europeans were in the area, or if Europeans were, they weren't in any number. Might have been older than that. Might have been longer ago than that. In any case, there's records from Japan about a tsunami that was a silent tsunami because they didn't have any, there was no earthquake. And then all of a sudden there was a tsunami. And so they have the time that it arrived there. And it correlates with damage done to the Oregon coast. And I think they think that's the last big movement that it had. And there was a big tsunami, and then there's a tsunami that went all the way to Japan from it. So it is something that is, it's there, it's moving, and it's active. And earthquakes are a fact of nature, fact of life for a lot of people. And there's a lot of places, there's a lot of places in the US at least that are doing retrofits, because, bridge retrofits and stuff like that, to survive more earthquakes. Dam retrofits is a big one. But there are parts of this country and also in other countries that when things were built, they weren't built for, 7.2, 7.5 earthquakes, So, so yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But we, where we are, we choose our natural disasters, the ones that we are risking, right? So where I am, the highest natural disaster would be fire. The next one on the list would be earthquake. And I don't know, maybe volcanoes after that, although I've been told I'm outside of a volcano zone. I know I'm outside a flood zone if the reservoir goes. Not very far outside, but I'm outside of it. So those are things to think about when you move, PJ, since you're the only one on here that I know is moving. Yeah. Yep. All right. Steve says, get old-fashioned hearty garden mums, not the ones sold at Lowe's and Walmart. That's a good suggestion. PJ says, you've got me for another hour. Just added my culture to the milk. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. All right. Tommy says, pending on the GMO here, we GMO when we cross tomatoes. That's technically GMO, but I'm definitely against any of the synthetically done GMO studies. History has shown us by now, the more that we try to alter food synthetically, the less healthy it is. I'm just going to read through and then I'm going to respond. Serena says, GMO is lab-produced seeds, not always. While hybrids are simply cross-pollinated seeds, heirloom seeds are true to type. Right, so versus their maize, their Mexico, I'll take over our corn. Yeah. You think that would be the correct term? It is the correct term, land race, because so a land race is not like a foot race. It's a race like a grouping of, it could be grouping of people or grouping of whatever. But it's called a land race because it's what has corn started as a grass with seeds seeds, like the actual corn on the cob was like this big, right? That's what started. It's a grass. And didn't know that? You learned something. And we have bred it. Multiple places have bred it over time to become something bigger, better, etc. And the land race that happened from that breeding and from that planting and letting things go to seed and finding what works best for this area, the thing that works best for the area is what's growing, and that's what that is. So yeah. So GMO is genetically modified organism, I think. It doesn't have to be lab. You're genetically modifying stuff. If you're selecting for things, you are providing that. I may be getting my terms mixed up. there are terms that don't mean what you think they mean. So there's some things that are lab modified. Like I remember when they were using fruit fly eye DNA to make tomatoes redder. Sounds ridiculous and like a conspiracy theory, but that was something that was going on. And my question is, vegetarians aren't going to like that, right? Can't eat those tomatoes. But yeah, so there is something with that. There's also genetic modifications that happen to make a plant resistant to pesticides. So it's not a bred out thing, but it's actually done in the lab. And you can breed for these things. So I don't use the word GMO to describe things unless I already know that that's like that I'm not the one describing it as GMO. It's actually that's what it is, because it has some gray language around it that people think it means something it doesn't, and then there's other words that mean other things and all that. But my point is that the Tortilla Foundation, I think is what it's called in English. They do good things, and they're putting the Mexican corn back to the Mexican people and having success. So yeah, I made them a long time ago. Yeah, definitely pre-COVID. How long ago was that? It was a long time ago. All right. Serena says, "What is Corn's favorite hymn?" Amazing Grace. Oh my goodness. You just made that up? That's a good one. Keep that one. Yeah, so Tommy says, "I'm with you, Katrina. I absolutely have my tomatoes weaved through 2x4 fencing and cattle panel. Yep, no need to spend time clipping or tying. People use t-shirts, strip t-shirts to tie things up. No need. No. And you know what? People spend a lot of money on fancy looking trellises. You're not going to see it. When the plant is on it, you're not going to see the trellis. Just pointing that out in case you want to spend less money, even though cattle panels are expensive now. Okay. Tommy says, yeah, technically hybridization is genetically modifying the plant itself. Yep. So that can be used under the label GMO. Yeah, it's kind of like organic, right? So organic used to mean when the word first came out, I thought it was silly because they're all organic, because organic just means you have carbon, right? But organic, fruit, vegetables, whatever. To certify as organic, you can be doing a whole lot of stuff that I would not consider organic. You can spray a lot of stuff that I would not consider using. You can it's interesting. A place I looked at, same place I had the tiny home that wasn't supposed to be there. It what it did have is it used to be a marijuana organic farm, but they couldn't sell the property with that planted, and so they planted mustard. So they had organic mustard. And so how they have it deemed organic is it has to have 3 years of non-traditional farming. That's it. Used to be 10 years of know this, know that, know this, know that. But in Oregon, it is 3 years of non-traditional farming, which I believe includes no of certain sprays and no of certain things, but it's a lot wider open than I think it should be for that label. All right, soapbox down. Serena says, what are broccoli and cauliflower's favorite hymn? Crown him with merry crowns. Because they have crowns. Oh my gosh. Bowtie's here. Hello, welcome. Bowtie Life, Triple G, greetings, global gardeners. From old Dustin, where somehow we still have not officially hit 90. All right. Which is mighty strange for late June in Florida. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Exactly, Tommy. The label being the key word there. That is exactly what I was trying to impress, is that just because something's labeled as something doesn't mean that it meets the qualifications you think it does. I relearned this when I was in California and I applied for my my small egg producer's license. And free range, reading through what free range, cage free, all those different things are, boy, you can have some interpretation on those. Some of them is, oh, they have to be able to see daylight. That's it. That's it. They have to be able to go outside for this percentage of a day, or have sun for this percentage of a day. Like, it was not what you would think those words mean. Yeah, so be careful about, number one, labeling things, and number two, thinking you know what the label is, because it's not. Not it. All right. Bowtie says, you will not believe it. We hit 90 today for about 3 hours for the first time this year. No, thank you. How hot does it usually get where you are in the summer, Mr. Bowtie? So Tommy, there's going to be federal labels, and there's probably going to be a different state label. And you're right, I haven't looked into a couple years either. So if you're interested, you're going to have to look that up and then let us know. I just know that it's the labeling is not getting better, it's getting worse as far as what I would call honesty in labeling. It's getting more wide. Yeah. There must have been a spider hatch, because I keep seeing little spider webs like float off, which is how spiders fly. Yes, did you know spiders fly? They poop out their little web and then they go whoo, in the wind. Are you scared now? I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, Steve says, Bowtie, how about I send you all our temperatures above 90 to make up for your shortages? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Serena hit 95 with heat index of 101. What I said it was? I think I said it was 69 here. We've had it cool, which is good. It's good to do that right now, especially right before 4th of July. Yeah. Return to sender. Return to sender. Address unknown. Now you have that song in your head. Okay, Bowtie says, oh, we had heat index of 104. Super humid. I can do without humidity, that's for sure. Serena says, what did the beaver say when his project fell? Damn. Dusty's here. Welcome, Dusty. Dusty says we had 92 with dew point of 79 today and hotter tomorrow. Thankful it was part overcast and a nice breeze. Yeah. Wisconsin, the new of Florida, no gators. Oh, well, that's the upside. That's the upside. Tommy has, oh, yeah, that's right. You guys had that big hurricane thingy. Was it a hurricane or a monsoon? It's a monsoon. How'd you fare with that? Tommy says drought, flash flooding, and tornadoes are common where I am. So yeah, did you get that monsoon stuff? Oh, Bowtie's reading back Serena's jokes. She made that one up, Bowtie. Okay. Yes, exactly, Tommy. A grass that roots in a very interesting way, corn is. Yoda, you guess? Yeah. Yep. Wind pollinated. Yep. Dusty says, I understand to get farm crops to survive, they're using GMO, but I wonder what it's doing to people's health. Seems a lot of diabetes and IBS issues. Yeah, so we were talking, I don't know if it was before you got on or not, but GMO can mean a lot of different things. And so it's important to look at what it actually means for the food you're talking about. But I think in general, this is my personal opinion, nothing to support it. Um, I think aren't our bodies are behind, and our bodies are not immediately noticing that some of the foods we are eating are food because they don't have the same build up. No, what is it called? They're not compiled the same way as they used to be, when you're talking about GMO foods. And so I think, personally, I think a lot of that is coming out in our health because our body doesn't know what to do with these things. Personal opinion. Plus, we have access to things now that, like sugar, that historically we haven't had that much access to, or we'd had seasonal access to through fruit. And I have a sugar tooth, a sweet tooth. I have lots of sweet teeth. All right. Bowtie says GMO does mean lab modified and genome hacked lab work. Doesn't always. It doesn't always. So I know at one point it didn't always. I don't know if it still does. So that's what I'm saying. Check what that is. Because at least at one point it meant a lot of different things. Yeah. So that's what Tommy was asking about that's what Tommy was asking about uh in his comment, was about like labeling, and what the current definitions are. And I don't know. But yeah. Bowtie says genome broken in 1996, genetic alteration started within a year. Are you talking about the human genome? I'm not getting into that conversation, guys. PJ says, hopefully I can take all my cattle and hog panels with me. Absolutely, because it costs so much more now than when you bought them, I'm sure. They used to be $16, and now they're like 40 something. Once the animals are loaded, I'll have to load the panels. Yep, exactly. What? Oh, facts. Facts, Katrina, about the whole organic thing. Preach, madame, preach. Yeah. Organic, when the term organic first came out, you had to have 10 years of very specific practices on your land. I was in Oregon at the time, so I don't know if it was nationwide or whatever, but in here at least, you had to have 10 years of particular practice at your land. And I remember talking to people that were working towards that. It's like they can say we grow organically, but we're not certified yet because they didn't have their 10 years in yet. And what the 10 years was supposed to do is give enough time to get all the yuck out of the soils. So what I'm saying for now, at least in Oregon, they don't go and test your soils. It doesn't matter what was there 4 years ago. They give you 3 years. You don't know what's in the soils. And I'm sorry, but there are a lot of nasty soils out there with things that have spilled and stuff. So yeah. Oh boy. Tommy says, who in all the old school farmers know it takes 7 years and at least for late to fully recuperate naturally? Yeah. So like that whole 7 year, so that was the whole thing. Like the 7th year, you take a break on that land and you move ahead and blah, blah, blah. The 7-year cycle. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, no, that comes from stuff. Like that comes from knowledge and from use and all of that. Um, so yeah, it's sad that we're not looking at what history provided us, and instead we're just without a lot of times we big agricultural is what I'm talking about, puts in particular nutrients and not the full nutrient array, and just takes and doesn't give. Yeah. um yeah. Wow, but hi. She got through it fine though, right? I mean, I know she's okay now, but yeah. Yes, for the land to fully recuperate. I understood what you're talking about, Tommy. Yeah. You give up on talk to test. I read into it because I know you use that, and I was like, okay, this I understand what you're saying. Yeah. It's a conspiracy. Oh my gosh. Okay, Bowtie says we hit mid to upper 90s normally most of the spring and all of summer. Yeah. So Dusty says think magnetic north is flipping. I'm gonna say I think it was 2 years ago. They updated the declinations. So if you have a compass, um, okay, magnetic. There's true north, and then there's magnetic north, and they do not point in the same direction. So if you have a compass, like let's say you get a brand new compass. You get out of the box, what do you do with it? You're supposed to immediately set the declination to where you are or where you will be using it. And the declination is here's true north, here is magnetic north. Your compass is going to tell you magnetic north, but your map will say true north. So your declination will move the sensor that says this is magnetic north, and it'll say, oh, we're this many degrees off of true north, and it will add or subtract that many degrees. And so the declinations, I think it was 2 years ago they updated that. So that is, somebody can correct me, but it was recent that they did that. And so yes, there is a shift. They usually update that every 10 years, and I think 10 years. And they updated it early this time because it is happening faster. So yeah, small comment, big context, right? Oh, PJ, thank you. That's a pretty top. Wait, no sleeveless? It's not fully sleeved. It was a nickel at a garage sale years ago. Somebody made it. Thank you. I just threw it on. I know. You guys are used to seeing my shoulders, huh? People say that to me too, because people see me so much in tank tops. I'm a tank top person, you know? It works. Kentucky's flooded. Steve says we get tropical storm and hurricanes. I think he's talking about Tommy gets monsoons. Yep. Hey, my dad's here. I must be way behind. Am I way behind? 7:05, 7:14. I'm like 10 minutes behind. Sorry, guys. My dad's here. Welcome. Says GMO foods are keeping a lot of people in the world alive. That is true. There's a big conversation on that. So there's what is it called? It's a project out of Kenya. I'm gonna magically find this one by googling it too. I do know the name of it. Okay, Kenya food growing project, and Baker Creek does support it. So let's type in Baker Creek. No, no. Okay, let's take out Baker Creek. There's too much Baker Creek in there. So I met some people. I'm not finding it. I met some people at the Heirloom Expo a few years ago, and from Kenya, and they they actually shared something that was really interesting. So yes, so to my dad, you're not wrong, but there are other factors involved in that. Um, GMO foods that go to a lot of the uh what is it called, assistance programs and stuff like that. There's a word though. The ones that you go overseas and they drop off food to for these people. A lot of those seeds are treated so they can't grow them. So it's literally them dropping off food and then not being able to grow that food that they're dropping off. Like, so a lot of times, I don't know if you guys, a lot of people have tried growing um sweet potatoes. I know they do this with. I think they do it with potatoes too. Not all of them, just some of them. But they do sometimes spray an anti-rooting hormone on it. They do a similar thing with the food corn and wheat that they give to um, what's it called? Not refugee, like disaster assistance. That people can't grow it. And what has happened is in these places, in Kenya is one of the places that has a lot of this going on, where there's American aid going in with food, is that they have relied so much on this aid, relied on the US for this aid for this food that doesn't, if you plant that seed, is not going to grow. Um, that a lot of their native uh, seed growing stuff is going out of their culture. So it is I know that there's a name for this organization. Um, so they have basically they go around different communities and they teach people about the native foods that used to be there, that are there still, growing wild. They don't know it's edible. And so there's a halfway solution that the US is providing with that. And the halfway solution is to make people dependent on them. And the full solution would be, hey, you guys are war-torn country. We need to fix your soil so you can grow stuff again, because, maybe they salted it, or they, burned everything over and over so hot that the soil, there was no soil left. There's these things that affects these areas, that the solution should be help with food, but then also, then how do we grow food now from going forward? And so what's happening in that situation is there's a lot of geopolitical stuff going on that comes with the food aid. And we the Americas support ends at, here's a bag of food. Anyway, I'll try and Mesa. Is it Mesa? Mesa. Mesa. Mm, multinational exchange for sustainable agriculture. I think that's it. I think that's it. I have to find. Let's see if this is it. Yes, this is it. So, let's go with this. And sorry it took me so long to figure out the name of that. I knew it was something. So the people that came and spoke about it were Kenyan. I think it reaches wider than that, but I think this is it. Okay. So here's their website. multinational exchange for sustainable agriculture, and they actually have like they teach people recipes and things. So when you grow something, you have to know how to use it as well. So it's worth looking in. This is a worthwhile one to look into. But yeah, they have a lot of different projects and teaching people how to grow things, how to save seeds. They're really big on helping communities create a seed bank, and the elders of those communities teaching the younger people, like setting up that system, because a lot of younger people don't want to learn. Anyway, this is a good one. Anyway, there's other stuff on here. That was a long side quest. Let me get back to you guys. So that's a yes, but that's a yes, but the thing that should be done is for people to know how to use the foods that have been growing in their area forever, right? Which has happened. I mean, how many acorns do we eat here? We have tons of acorns in certain areas, right? It's not used. Dusty says, I remember when they use pharmaceutical corn for cereal not many years ago. Yep. Steve says we could send real food, not fake food. They'd still be alive. Yep. So not to knock you. It's a yes, but situation. All right. PJ says hi. All right. Let's see. All right. Bowtie can go off on the GMO way. Specifically how it affected our health, long-term effects, as well as available corrections that are amazing. Yep. Hybrids aren't necessarily, yeah, Dusty, I don't think that's correct. You said hybrids are genetically modified in labs. They're not. Hybrids can be, a hybrid is this plus this equals this. It's a breeding. So I wouldn't say it's done in labs. I can say it's probably done in greenhouses, though. I wouldn't say that. I think they're a hybrid is a hybrid. It's not anything more than that. All right. Yeah, genetic engineering versus genetic modification from Mother Earth News. Mother Earth News, I'm gonna say I don't know. I sometimes it has questionable stuff in it. I'm not saying on that particular thing. I'm just saying I'm saying find multiple sources for what they say. Okay. Dusty says, I think it's wonderful to have a crop that can resist pests and weather pressure, but at what cost? Yep. Bowtie says, the Farmers Footprint Foundation is helping farms recover organic practices and certifications within a single year in many states, 2 years in many worst case scenarios. Yeah, and there's ways to recover for like there's ways to do soil remediation. Either cut it out, put it on a truck, take it to a certified, facility that stores polluted soils, because this does happen. Or there are bioremediation tactics that you can use for some things. For example, sunflowers take out heavy metals. Mushrooms can take out a lot of things. So if you know what your soil has, there are often bioremediation, bio meaning life, meaning at this point plants, and remediation meaning fixing it, that can help the soils. So that's good to see that there's organization helping people do that. Yeah, I just know when I looked into it for a property up north of here, I was like, you don't even test the soil. It's just a timing thing, and what you're doing now, that's a little iffy. All right. Yeah, you can make a hybrid with a paintbrush. Exactly. You can paintbrush here, paintbrush there. Now you have hybrid for the flowers. Yeah, mortgage lifter tomato, cross-pollinating German Johnson beefsteak, and 2 other varieties. Yeah, and you know what? I grew that once and it did terribly. So I hope it does well for other people. Um, I was like, "Oh, this will be awesome." And the tomato itself was fine. It wasn't anything, special about it either way, but it did not pay off my mortgage. Um, all right. So Bowtie says true north is typically 2 to 7 degrees off of each other, and wobble is normal. We just have better technology to detect with accuracy. Certain celestial activity, it can wobble like 11 degrees. Yeah, so a lot of things go into it, right? But we have our standard. When I was in, I don't remember if it was when I was at Heart Mountain National Antelope Refuge in southeastern Oregon, or if it was when I was in California, but there was 12 degrees of declination. I remember that. And I don't remember anything else. I don't even know what my compass is set out now. I should probably look at that. But yeah, so it can be more than 7 degrees. But yeah, it does depend on where you are in the world and other things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Dusty, you can make a hybrid. If you take a tomato, if you take if you take a tomato and you take another tomato of a different kind, and you take the pollen from this one and pollen from that one and swap them, you just made a hybrid. Whatever seeds come out of the fruit that the pollination was done in, you can make that hybrid. Now, the key is they have these little bags that you can put over the flower so that nothing else pollinates it. And that's the key is people what they do in greenhouses when they do this is they put the bag over the flower bud when it's a bud, and then when it opens, that's when they open the bag and pollinate it with a selected pollen with a paintbrush, usually. And then they put that bag back over it. And then they know that whatever comes out of that bag is that hybrid. And there's a lot of hybrids that, so when I was in California, there was 2 years that I didn't have any tomatoes at all because it got up to 115 degrees, went back down, went back up, went back down. Didn't have tomatoes for 2 years. And so I decided that next year to experiment with tomatoes and get heat tolerant tomatoes. And I was looking, and purple Cherokee, black Krim, they're supposed to be really good for heat tolerance, but not that big a heat. And so I started looking, and there's a lot of hybrids that are heat tolerant, and I planted them and I did a taste test. There's a video of it. I did a taste test and they tasted good, but it was nothing like the heirloom tomato taste. Nothing like it. And those are more produced more commercially, um, I think. But yeah, so there are hybrids made for specific traits that will get you that. Yeah. And my dad says I thought it was only me wobbling. Yeah. 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 Um, yeah, so bow tie says it takes hundreds of permutations to get effective changes in most cases, but a hybrid is a combination or a product of two existing cultivars. Yeah, GMO is an invention of a completely new genetic cultivar. Yep, that is exactly it. Um, bow tie has some wobble. 6 decades will do that to you. Oh my gosh. You guys are the better technology. There you go. Yeah, I don't know why it took me so long to think of the name Mesa. Yeah. Um, yeah, so Dusty, if you have a tomato packet, if you have a packet of seeds and it's an F1 hybrid, so that means that you took something stable and you mixed them and you made a new thing. That's an F1 hybrid. then those seeds are all going to be that F1 hybrid. If you take that and another F1 hybrid and put them together, that's called an F2 hybrid, and you're going to have much more variation in that. We can go back to genetics for that, but yeah, it is what me and Bowtie are saying is correct. Let's just say that. Yeah, was that. Okay. Southern accent kicked in for a second. Andy Rabbit's here. Hello. Hello, Andy Rabbit. Good evening. Hope you're doing well. Bioremediation is awesome. I agree, Bowtie. I agree. You yelled that and you ain't saying sorry. Bioremediation is amazing. It is amazing what plants can do, right? For sure. Okay, I'm gonna skip the conversation with the GM1 hybrids. I think we've had that. We've put that to bed. Okay. Andy says, "Been good. I've been to Arizona a few weeks." That's right. You went to your dad. That is awesome. Awesome. All right. So Bowtie says, "Oh, in all fairness, most hybrids suck. Last time I tried it, I got a Kachari melon that tasted like grass." Oh, yeah. So you have to be careful with squashes in general, melons and squashes in general. They will hybridize very quickly, very effectively. If you're buying something in a grocery store and you plant it, you may not get what you think you're planting. I got a delicata squash at one of the heirloom expos, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to taste this so I know what it tastes like," because it'd be good opportunity to do that. Like, never had it, taste it, it's good, it's wonderful. And then I was like, "Oh, actually, I can plant these seeds, and I'll get delicata squashes." Well, some of them were delicata squashes, and some of them were a little different. They will readily hybridize. So just keep that in mind if you are saving any of the melon families or pumpkin families seeds. Yeah. If they were in a field of all themselves, then you have a good chance. If they were in a varied field, then you don't know what's going on. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Bowtie says Sun Gold was the product of hundreds, if not thousands, of manual cross-pollination. The exact combination is a closely guarded secret. I wish I knew. There's a video of me eating the Kajari melon that was terrible. Nice. Yeah. I know Wild Boar Farms is working on a lot of they're working on a lot of what they hope to be new heirlooms. Things that will be heirlooms at some point, and that by that time they will have stabilized and yeah, I know they're working on a lot of that. So Wild Boar Farms, I'm sure other places are too. I just know of them. Yeah. Serena says, "I'm still waiting for my Sweet Georgia candy roaster. That one's really good." And loofah squash vines to take off. Yeah, the candy roasters get like this big, and they are very good. They're very good. For sure. Yeah. And loofah, I have not grown. I didn't grow the candy roaster either. But loofah, I have not grown. I want to grow. I have some seeds. Do not send me any seeds, Bowtie. I hear you're the loofah man. And it's but you can eat them when they're young. If you don't want them all to be loofahs, you can eat them when you're young. I don't know what they taste like. Maybe Bowtie can tell us this. And he says, Serena, the first of my 3 or 4 only loofah plants just grabbed the trellis this weekend. Nice. Nice. Wow, that you can eat them? Yeah, you can eat them. The young ones. It's a squash. You can eat it like a summer squash. I've never had them, but yeah, Bowtie, have you had them since we know that you grew tons of them? You can tell your story again on here if you'd like. Yeah. So anyway, we talked about a couple different groups that help people. With that, I'm going to move my light so that I'm a little more shaded. That work? Kind of. Oh boy. All right. Serena says, how do you turn a fruit into a vegetable? Throw a watermelon up into the air and it will come down squash, which is also a fruit. Okay, so Bowtie says they taste exactly like zucchini. We roast them, skillet them, shredded them for bread. They're great. Good to know. And very productive as I understand. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I have a couple zucchinis and a couple crookneck and a couple butternut squash that I planted. And so hopefully they'll do well. Yeah. I got quite a few zucchini last year from a neighbor. And I made some fake pineapple with it, faux pineapple. And so I have some of that still. That's really good. Super productive and impervious to SVB. What is SVB? I don't know what SVB is. I know what SUV is. Yeah, I've heard a lot about how loofah grows very productive. Yeah. I'm planning on using some of the trees that are established in the food forest as trellises for things like loofah and some other things. Um, That'll be good. Yeah, kiwis is another thing I'm gonna grow. The hardy kiwis and squash vine borer. I have not had that experience. I'm gonna knock on some wood. Hopefully, I don't have it. Uh, yeah, squash vine borer is, as I understand it, not a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, this garden is much more densely planted than it was when I got here. When I got here, what did she have planted? She had, I think it was 2 zucchini plants, um, 3 or 4 regular sized tomatoes, a couple cherry tomatoes, and like a 6-pack of bell peppers, which I don't eat. Is there anything else in there? Oh, and they had potatoes in there in a little box. So it's much more densely planted than it was when I first came here. It was very nice to come to a planted garden. That was very nice. I appreciated it. Yeah. Um, I've seen a lot of cucumber beetles out and about just randomly in the world. So that's something I know we have here. And I've seen some weevils, and I don't know much about how weevils affect the garden because I've only ever seen weevils in the garden like a few times and they weren't an issue. So I don't know of any, if there are any that do bad things there. Yeah. Bowtie says stems of loofah are very woody. In fact, I want to try pulling a car with some vine this year if I can get them to grow. That is a goal. That is a goal. Yep. Yep. For sure that's a goal. Yeah, squash vine borer. Yeah, cucumber beetles is the only thing I've seen, and then my giant baby banana slugs. Yeah. Um, I think probably the mama banana slug just had babies in the box, and they probably are like, "Oh, I would like to eat this." I don't know how small they are when they're babies. Anybody know how big a banana slug egg is? Should I look it up? Um, Size. Let's see. Because the banana slugs are pretty big. 3 to 4 millimeters in diameter. Okay. Okay. 3 to 50 eggs in a small crevice. Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully only 3 because I found 3. My goodness. Typically hatch within a month or two, and the young slugs will mature over several months. All right. All right. Well, they definitely were there. They were there living their best life for sure on my jalapeno plants. Yep. That is a goal? Yes, it is a goal. It sounds like a goal to me. Serena says, knock, knock. Who's there? Boll weevil. Boll weevil who? After the boll weevil, I'll go home. Okay. Is boll weevil a type of weevil? Because I don't know that. That joke is lost on me. Boll weevil. Since we're looking things up, I might as well look up that, huh? Weevils are weird. It looks like every other weevil. Huh. Okay. Okay. Isolated to a few areas in the lower Grande Valley of Texas, near the Mexico border. Been eradicated from 99.9% of commercial cotton belt. All right. That is the AI overview, which we know how much we trust that, right? Yeah. Gotta say it with German accent. I'll let you do that. I'll let you do that. Yeah. Did you cook the banana slug? No. No, I did not. I stomped on it and went. Banana slugs? You don't have banana slugs where you are, do you, Steve? Banana slugs, they can get like that big and like that thick. And they leave a slimy trail. But they have a toxin in them that, so animals aren't supposed to eat them. And and if you lick them, your tongue tingles. They had us do that in Girl Scout a long time ago. Probably not something we should have done. Never heard of them today. It is the mascot of Santa Cruz, one of the universities there. State University? Is that right? The mascot, slug. Yes. Ew, exactly. Exactly. If you found a banana slug, you probably have to move. They're very slow moving. They're very slow moving. No, they can get like that big, like almost a foot, I would say. That's the longest one I've seen. Most of them are like between 6 and 8 inches, maybe, that I've seen. And they look like a banana with spots. Like that's why they're called that, is they're, a ripe banana. Some of them are riper than others. Some of them are more yellow. Some of them have more black spots, gray spots, whatever. Oh, you're looking them up now. Their slime is a numbing agent. I believe it. It tingles, and I don't actually remember it. I remember that I did it because Girl Scout camp. But yeah, we have them here. I just never saw the baby ones until this weekend, and they were this big. So they were more round than anything. Yeah. Yep. We have those. The two things I see most often in that category, in the mollusk category, is the banana slug, and we have a Pacific something snail. I don't remember what it's called, but it has a swirly shell that's flattened. Pacific snail. Let's see what it comes up with. Sideband? Maybe. Yeah, Pacific sideband snail. I think that's what it is. So, anyway. Hazing or bullying today? No, it was a learning experience. Like, we were learning about the banana slug, and that was part of what we were learning about. I'm just saying probably they wouldn't have children doing these things these days. Yeah. But I lived. What happened to the president of the United Fruit and Vegetable Nation when he violated his oath of office? He was impeached. Oh. Yeah, I thought it was Pacific Coast. So Steve says their natural habitat stretches along the Pacific coast of North America. Yep. I've seen other slugs, but most of them are pretty small, which does not mean they don't do damage. They still do damage. But the banana slugs are pretty easy to spot. Yeah, pretty easy to spot. Yeah, every once in a while you'll see one on the front porch. I stepped on one out the side. I was like, well, that's there now. Yeah. Yep. Not fun. So yeah, we have it's a moist environment sometimes here, not all the times. You guys see the sun is going down on the hill. I can watch the sun go down here and driving in town and watch it go down again. Yeah. Andy says, I grabbed 2 boxes of peaches, 25 pounds each for $25 a box. That is a good deal. What kind? What kind? And what are you going to do with them? Yeah. Coast soap? I don't get that joke, Serena. What kind of soap is popular among the shoreline? Coast. Is Coast a kind of soap? I don't know that. Steve says you have a lot of woody areas with wood and leaves, so that's their habitat. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where they go when it dries out in the summer. If you get put up by Wednesday, you might grab some more. So are they freestone? Do you know that? Yes, and Steve says I'm glad you got your peaches to Andy. Fresh Georgia peaches. I don't know what that means. I don't know what a Georgia peach is, except for a picture on a license plate. Is it a yellow peach that is a freestone or not a freestone? Because that does matter in how fast you're going to put them up. Oh, they hold on to the seed. Okay, they're not a freestone. But hopefully they're tasty. Bowtie says, I've been to the Pacific Coast several times. Now that I know you have slugs that will carry away a Mack truck, I can't go back. Oh, they won't do that. They won't do that. I know that Georgia peaches are likely peaches grown in Georgia, but they could also be a variety. And I don't know what that variety is. Yeah. Or what, I don't know about that variety. What does a grape do when you step on it? It just lets out a little wine. Oh, Serena, you are topical. You are topical. Yeah, no peaches here. I know that. So I talked with a neighbor last week, I think it was, stopped by, and I was saying how there's no cherries, no pears this year, and he added no peaches either this year. The weather got to stuff with that little bit of extra cold we got later in the year. Okay, Bowtie says Georgia peaches are delish. Any tasty peach from Georgia, right? I don't know. Is it a variety or is it like peaches from Georgia? I know the Georgia peach is on the license plate of Georgia vehicles. And that's the extent of my knowledge, except for maybe now there are not freestone. For those who don't know, the pit of a peach is called a stone. It is part of the stone fruit family, and that is, if it's freestone, that means that like you could cut around it and do a twist and pop, and it'll come apart, and then you'd be able to cut it up, do whatever, can it, whatever. When it's not a freestone, it sticks on it, and you have to cut it away from the pit. So yeah, it's different. And you should not be feeding anything in the stone fruit family. You should not be feeding any of the wood or leaves to rabbits. That is a no-no. Yeah. PJ says, I'm going to get some to freeze dry this weekend. I'm so excited. You will love it. You know what's even better than freeze-dried peaches? Freeze-dried apricots. That, fresh off the tree, yummy. That is delicious. And I just do them as halves and do that. That is the best way to eat a freeze-dried apricot. Good. But yeah, peaches do great in the freeze dryer. Yeah. Steve says Georgia peaches and over 40 commercial peach varieties. Yeah. Andy said they don't say anything but fresh Georgia peaches on the box. Okay. Primarily sweet, easy to slice, and freestone. So Andy has is not freestone. So yeah. Oh, you're freeze drying them. I didn't know you brought your You did say that, didn't you? Freeze dryer with you. Put in a load in the freeze dryer this morning. Awesome. I have milk in the freeze dryer still. I have one more batch in the freezer, and then that will be the end of the 10 gallons of milk someone gave me. So I have, I'll have a lot of freeze-dried milk. Yeah. Yeah. Bowtie says we have 2 peach trees. First peaches just harvested last month from one. Mrs. Bowtie made amazing hand pies, mouth watering. Yeah, I miss my nectar peach in particular. That was a good peach tree. I have canned peaches still. I need to eat more of them. They're getting older, but it's okay. I have canned peaches. I have freeze-dried peaches and freeze-dried peach powder. And they're all good. Yeah. You don't know how to get fruit from a tree to a pie? Steve, it's so easy. Oh, wait, I'm reading your next comment. The basket is empty by the time it makes it to the house. That's right. You have a little thing called grandkids. A horde of grandkids. Okay, Andy says I really liked the canned peaches I freeze dried. Yeah, the fresh is going to be even better. And you can do it without peeling. Hopefully you're not spending time peeling. Just wash it so that it's clean and, maybe take the fuzz off if you don't like that. But you can leave the peel on when you freeze dry, and it doesn't make it weird when you bite into it. A lot less work. Something else you can do is take an immersion blender or just a blender and blend up the peaches, or take an immersion blender and blend it into a bowl and so it's pureed, and then freeze dry that, and then you can make peach powder and put it in tons of different things. And I've done that, and it's awesome. You can rehydrate it into juice. You can make it into jelly later. You can do a lot of things with it. Yeah. Recommended. Oh, Andy's back home. Got it. I don't know. I thought maybe thought maybe you're going on an adventure. Okay, PJ says, I have some white peaches. Yum, yum. I had cut up in the freeze dryer, pulled them out and freeze dried them, or in the freezer. Pulled them out and freeze dried them. They are somewhere around here. Have you not tried them yet? Oh, they're so good. And the white peaches, it's likely a nectar peach, I'm guessing. Or it's mostly juicy, which, that dries up, but the flavor of them is amazing. Serena says, when I first transplanted my sweet crimson watermelon plants, I had to rub the root balls to loosen up the roots before transplanting. I also had to remove a watermelon that was starting. Yep. Yeah, they don't like being moved. They don't like their roots messed with. So, did it have a long time of recovery? Yeah. Yeah, PJ said I'm lazy and generally don't peel. You don't have to. When you freeze dry, you don't have to do that at all. Yeah. Andy says these peaches are not white. Some orange color inside and some a little soft and more reddish inside. Okay. Ooh, Steve says peach powder in the new ice cream maker. That's a good idea. Yes. Bowtie says peeling peaches sounds like a waste of time. Just eat it now. So when you can, you're supposed to peel. You're supposed to peel them when you can. For various reasons. But when you freeze dry, it's completely fine. Exactly, Andy. Andy says, I'm not peeling 50 pounds of peaches. We eat the skins when we eat a fresh peach. Exactly. Oh, you tried them? You just don't know where they are, PJ? That's funny. Yes, make some peach powder. And how best to do that is to just make a puree, put it on the tray. And if you do a whole load of puree, that's going to be best because it's going to take longer than individual peach slices. So put it on the tray, put it in the freezer, pre-freeze, and then put it in. And then once it comes out, you throw it in a blender, make sure your blender's dry. And then that makes you the powder, and you can use it for so much. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can powder the slices after freeze drying too, but you kind of wasted time making the slices at that point. Yeah. Steve says, I never knew you took a skin off a peach. You're supposed to when you can. Yeah. Bowtie says, laying in bed in the dark, just realized my phone is about to die and the cafe lights in the garden are turned off. Yawn. I think my pillows are calling me. So we'll say something in 20 minutes and you'll still be awake, right? Good night, Mr. Bowtie. Andy says they don't stick to the seed 100%, but they do hold on to it, but not a freestone. Okay. PJ says, I have several boxes of freeze-dried stuff. I will not have to buy anything to eat for at least a month when I move. Exactly. Yeah, where I'm lacking is the vegetables. I have enough meat. I have enough fruits. It's the vegetables where I'm lacking. Same thing in can. So in all preservation, that's where I'm lacking. And so that's something over the next few years I want to work on for sure. Now I do have, okay, if you're going to do zucchini is a tough one for the freeze dryer and it doesn't reconstitute the greatest. What I recommend for zucchini type things is to roast them, season them and roast them, and then you eat it freeze dried like a chip or like a crunchy snack. And it's good that way. It's not great if you try and rehydrate it though. So that's just a clue for that. So I do have actually quite a bit of squash in there. And I did try it raw. That was not a good idea. What I should do with that is I should pulverize it and make it into zucchini flour. But yeah. Yeah. And Andy says, I'm slicing on the peach is making it much easier to take them off the seed. Good. Slice in small slices and then pop them off. Yep. Your beans are doing well, PJ. Awesome. Bowtie says, okay, you can start gossiping me about me in 3, 2, 1. All right, it's 10 Central Standard Time at Serena's place. Good, good. Okay, so PJ, since you're the only one on here that's a member right now, I want to look at the dates, and I'm thinking it's the 19th. Calendar for the Cook With Me Live. I'm thinking either the 19th or the 26th is better because Verna should be unpacked enough by those dates that she can actually have her computer in the kitchen. And you were talking about that. So that would be that's kind of what I'm looking at, but we'll wait and see what's going on. Yeah. Andy says, "Oh man, did you hear what funny things Bowtie eats? I know, crazy, right?" Annie's here. Welcome, Annie. How you doing? Annie says, "I like to dehydrate zucchini and use it like lasagna noodles." Good, good. Do you dehydrate it raw or do you dehydrate it after it's been cooked? So we're talking about freeze drying as well, but that's a good use of it for sure. PJ says, "Oh my, 11 here. Night, night, friends. Great discussion tonight. Good, good. I'm glad you're here. And take your cheese out if it needs to come out. Reminder to the late night PJ. Your cheese is done. Vegetables, grow what you eat. Exactly. So grow what you eat, and then also grow what you like. Know how you're going to preserve it. Honestly, um, you can do a lot of frozen stuff with zucchini. You can make flour out of it. You can make zucchini noodles, like Annie's saying. Um, the yellow crookneck squash and stuff like that. It doesn't do as well like as a pickle. So I know I've made zucchini pickles. It doesn't do as well as a pickle. You can do it. It just seems more sensitive, the yellow ones. So I'm kind of thinking about how to do that in preservation. But they also last a really long time on shelf. So yeah. All right. Let's hit everybody saying goodnight. And Bowtie says, "Andy, you have no idea." Exactly. We know you're listening. We know you're listening. Okay, both of them still work good for you. Okay, I'm gonna hold off and see what Verna thinks because I know she's gonna be the one that she has time constraints with hers. All right, Annie says I dehydrate it raw. Good, good, good. Um, awesome. That works for you. Yeah. How do you propagate Dieffenbachia? I don't even know what that is. Tried using take root powder. Don't know what that is. Wet the stem after cutting at an angle before coating it and take root. Oh, is that a rooting hormone? And stuck in a new potting mix that was moist, but that was it, and it died. I have never heard of this. Dieffenbachia. Let me look it up. Dieffenbachia came up. Okay. I have no idea. It looks like one that would have babies that come off of it, though. It's a houseplant, right? Does it have pups? Does it make pups? Because that's what I would think it would do, but I am not an expert in that at all. Anybody else have any ideas for Serena? And Steve has a question for you, Serena. Did you leave 2 to 3 healthy leaves on the stem? Serena says I'm growing straight neck squash, still waiting for the fruit, just male so far. So if you have just male flowers, then you can eat them. Like you can eat the male flowers after they've done their thing, after they've pollinated things. You can eat them. So that is a really good thing to do, actually. They're very tasty. You can stuff them with a bunch of stuff. My favorite is to, and you shouldn't do this all the time because, a little fattening, but is to make sage butter. So culinary sage and in butter, and cook it until the leaves that come out, they're crispy and they're delicious. And then you put a little bit of sage and a little bit of cream cheese and a little piece of date into the flour, twist it up, tuck it under, put it into that sage butter, and flip it. And that is delicious. And I have a video on that. I think it's called Easy Garden Dessert. If you want to see how it looks, but it's delicious. Yeah. Okay, Steve has a suggestion for you, Serena. You can also slice the bare stem into 3 to 5 inch segments. Make sure every piece has at least one visible eye or node, the slight bump or ring on the stem. Okay. Andy says, I did a test, 6 cuttings in a take root and 6 cuttings with nothing, just stuck in the dirt. All 6 of the take root died on me. All 6 of the just stick in the dirt grew. Not the same plant as yours. Interesting. Interesting. You put all the cuttings in one pot for your test. Okay. Interesting. Don't know what to say about that. Don't know what to say. Good luck. Try again. Good luck. Yeah. All right, guys. The sun is down. I have bunnies to feed. Are there any last minute musings we should discuss? Oh, they're also root and water. Good. Oh, the cheese will not be ready for 24 hours. Okay. Well, I was just reminding you. Just reminding you, PJ. Now go to bed. All right. So we will see you guys next Thursday. Um the videos for this week are garden related. So the first tomorrow's is about weeding the garden and why I do what I do with the weeds. And then on Thursday there'll be a short garden tour of what I end up planting. There's still some more stuff to plant, but that's what I got done, and I was happy with that for the time being. Yeah. So I hope everybody's looking forward to a good holiday weekend, and that everybody is. Yes, we figured out you're back home. Thank you. I think Steve said that. Thank you, Andy. I hope everybody has a good 4th of July celebration if you are celebrating. And oops, wrong Thursday? No, next Thursday. Next Thursday. This Thursday is a garden video. Next Thursday is a live. Anyway, so I hope you guys are having safe and fun 4th of July celebrations if you are celebrating. And yeah, hoping you guys are all doing good. Yes, Thursday the 9th. Yes. Yes. All right, guys, we will see you guys next week. Have a wonderful, safe weekend, and hopefully you guys have your garden already planted because I'm late to the game. All right, guys, we will talk to you later. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening and a wonderful week. Thanks for coming.